Hello, everyone, and thank you all for bearing with us as we were battling some lovely technical issues together with the Crowdcast team. But we persevered and we came out on top. So that's assuming that everybody can see and hear me now. So if you see us, do give us a wave. So we are here today with Deborah Simpier and Justin Kilpatrick from Althea Network. And we're going to talk about Althea Network and also the gravity bridge that they and their team have been and are building, which has a wider use for the Cosmos ecosystem. Just very briefly, Deborah, who are you? How'd you get to Althea in 1 minute? Mute. Still mute.
Okay, appreciate the patience there. I'm Deborah Simpier. I'm one of the co-founders and I'm the CEO of Althea, and I'm here actually at one of our main locations for one of our networks. You can see all the radios and fun stuff in the background. I started basically with the need to solve kind of the digital divide and to bring better systems to the internet. And that's where found Justin and Jahan, and we sort of evolved Althea from there.
Great, thanks. Justin, could you give us the...
Hi, I'm Justin, CTO of Althea, CTO and co-founder of Althea. And I've been interested in building a decentralized bandwidth marketplace ever since I first heard about the idea of blockchain. And a few years ago, I finally decided to give it a serious attempt. And Deborah, pretty shortly thereafter, found me, and Jahan found me as well. And together we have worked on, we've worked to build Althea. And what's really interesting about this is that we're all looking for the same thing, and we just happen to, find ourselves in the same place trying to build the same project without ever having met or knowing each other before. And it's really evolved into something great.
Great, thanks. Yeah, and I was saying to Deborah before, I mean, don't worry about getting a clean background. This is the background we want. We want antennas, we want boxes. It's what you do, apparently. And we'll hear more about that. All right, yeah, so very briefly, I am Aaron van Ammers. I'm CTO and founding partner of Outlier Ventures. And I'll tell a bit more about what we do, just very briefly, so that you know who you have in front of you. And I'll just give a very quick rundown of what I know about Althea, but I think it's much more interesting to focus on what you do know about it, which is obviously a whole lot more. So please have a look at the disclaimer. None of what we're talking about here is investment advice or any other form of advice. A very brief background about Outlier Ventures. So we were founded in 2014, backing Web3 founders since that time. We really take a blockchain agnostic view to the world. In some days, I think that was a more debated position than it is now. I think now it's pretty clear that there are many chains, and many of them are mature, and there are even many multi-chain ecosystems. Thinking about the Cosmos ecosystem where you guys mainly live in, and the Polkadot ecosystem. And things like a scale network, which you had last week, and there's many of these ecosystems appearing. Our thesis we summarize as investing in the open metaverse. Now that sounds maybe a bit wavy, like is it all about virtual worlds? Well, it's more about how all of these decentralized and open technologies come together to form worlds, be they virtual worlds in the sense that you might understand them as 3D gaming environments, but also where DeFi is combined, and DeFi primitives are created, NFTs are created. Maybe they work separately, maybe they work together with the new data economy. All of those things come together to form what we I think will be a really open metaverse, an open online world. And mixed with the offline world. And we do it mainly through the Basecamp Accelerator. It's an accelerator program where startups in these corners of the world come to us, and we help them, hopefully be much more successful than they would be without us in a short period, and do a token launch program called Ascent. And we run validators on a couple of networks, which currently are all Cosmos-based networks. So we're quite familiar with that side of technology, and avidly looking forward to the Gravity Bridge, with which at least one of these projects, Fetch, I'm sure have a direct intention of using, and probably the others as well. But like I said, there are many multi-chain ecosystems, and we have a good amount of startups in the Polkadot ecosystem as well. Very briefly about Althea. And again, let's not spend too much time on here. Fast, affordable, locally run internet. That's how you guys present it. And there's a blockchain there, and there are antennas there. What I would like to learn a bit more from you guys is like what are the different blocks of your stacks besides the chain part, and how does such an antenna come in contact with the blockchain, and are there any other components in that stack? This is from your white paper. Would also be very good to see, is this still how it is? Any new insights? Where did you get from that time, including this node overview? And there's a good amount of routers and devices that you directly more actively support, and a longer list of devices that should work, probably work with your stack. So it would be good to hear how you maintain that and work with that, and what's needed for new devices to work in there. And like I said, we definitely want to talk about the Gravity Bridge as well, which from the top end, how you describe it, because there's this is not the only bridge attempt or piece of software to build bridges between blockchains. There's many different pieces of software that implement a form of bridging functionality, and there's of course the IBC, which facilitates interchange of tokens and otherwise messages, but isn't directly a bridge in itself. It's more it facilitates a bridge. But it would be good to learn more about how it compares to other bridging approaches. And when I say it's similar to other bridging approaches, and there are also differences, it's often blockchain bridging approaches have, we have two ends of the bridge. On one side there are things, and the other side are things. If we want to bring one thing over that bridge, we basically lock it or burn it, or make sure that it can't move on this side, and we create it on the other side, and the same the other way. And I guess the devil is in the details there on what, of course, what are the mechanics to do that? How is that thing locked or kept? But very importantly, what is the governance model and the security model of minting those assets on either end, or sort of allowing the passage, so that of which parties am I dependent when I do that, and what are the risks? So be good to go into that a bit as well, and the stack that Gravity consists of. But so let's just get into discussion. I saw there was a good amount of discussion in the chat already before we happened to manage to get this all live, so that was good to see. But maybe we can start focusing on the top end, like the Althea, the stack, which things besides the chain and things like antennas and routers and all those kind of things play a role in Althea, and how do they come together?
So that's a really excellent question. And I'm going to sort of preface this by, if I said that an application exists in the cloud, you would understand what I meant. You would understand what the cloud is, roughly how it works, where it is. And before I founded Althea, I never really appreciated just how much this branding effort was worth. Because where the cloud providers make money when people know how to use them, Internet service providers make money when people don't know how internet is created, how internet is served to homes. So the sort of lack of education there is always something that's sort of interesting to deal with when we try and present how Althea works. Because we end up trying to explain a little bit about how internet is provided in general, and also how Althea works itself. Just to sort of keep that in mind, the challenge that you have when you're trying to provide internet to anyone is that you really need to solve a physics problem, which is how do you deliver a signal that can carry a large amount of data to directly to a user. And this is a really hard problem that's bounded by the sort of fundamental constraints of, sort of the laws of the universe. So if you have a big omnidirectional signal, think about like it. So think for a moment about the best tower in the world. It sends out a signal that everybody on Earth can hear. Well, that's great, but you can't talk back to it because only one person can be speaking on that perfect frequency at a time. So essentially, the challenge of providing internet is making fast links. And normally these links are between two places because broadcast is a difficult problem. Now, what Althea is about taking these links and building not only an automated network on top of them, but a bandwidth marketplace on top of them, where anybody can buy and sell bandwidth as a commodity. So people say that data and bandwidth is the most important thing. It is the asset of the century. It's the new oil. It's all of these things. And yet, you don't really buy a byte of data. You buy the right to maybe receive some amount of data from a specific provider if they feel like it with their terms and conditions on it. So, imagine if you went to the grocery store and you were trying to buy like a banana and they said, oh no, you need a banana subscription where you'll receive unlimited bananas when we have them. And you can't go to any other grocery store and redeem this subscription. You'd say that's absurd. Why in the world would it work like that? But that's exactly how you buy your data. And the world that we are building with Althea is a place where everybody has this blockchain-enabled, DeFi-enabled router in their home, which will actively look around for what is the best connection, who is providing me the best price, the best service, and select it second by second. And the same features will be available on your cell phone, which right now says, oh, I'm a X phone. I need to find a tower that is owned by X. Why does it matter? Just find a tower, hook up, and buy data like anything else in the world. The fact that the most important resource of this century is still behind such an archaic way of buying and selling it is a good indication for how, people say blockchain is still in the early days, but internet is still in the early days too. We're still figuring out what it means that everybody has a computer.
Yeah, indeed. What it means that everybody has a computer and has various, some of which are larger and some of which are smaller and go around your pocket all the time. Great. Yeah, you Deborah, you showed an LTE chip or a SIM card. You want to look into that?
Yeah, I wanted to add just really quickly too, one of the really interesting things about the way when we look at how the internet works, right, it's a series of tubes, right, and they come back to these data centers at major cities. And in the data centers, there's like what they call a meet me room, right, and carriers buy data from each other to bandwidth to peer across the different fiber lines. And when they buy and sell bandwidth as a commodity. They don't pay a monthly fee for that. And they have this, in the Meet Me room is this beautiful, interoperable, open marketplace that works extremely well. And we see the market dynamics work effectively there. In fact, for the last 20 years, year over year, the price of bandwidth has gone down there at the data centers. and it's also increased in capacity, right? So you see that kind of power of what happens when you break apart the silos. And what Althea does is bring that all the way down to like the device level, right? So you have this interoperable bandwidth marketplace all the way down to your phone, across middle mile, across last mile to fiber to the home or fixed wireless or whatever medium of transport that you want to take. And then everyone along that path also earns revenue. So those are kind of the secret sauce.
Yeah, so so everyone along the path, that gets into what Aaron was talking about with our white paper, which actually, yes, that diagram is perfectly valid. One of the things that I'm very proud of is that Jahan and I wrote the Althea white paper. And we pretty much implemented exactly the system that we wrote. That is what we have working for people live right now. And this is what is really unique about Althea, is that there are other blockchain projects that try and provide a like one-hop bandwidth marketplace, like a VPN or something similar to cell service. Althea provides unlimited hops. So whereas these other projects assume they're building on top of the internet, Althea builds the whole system. It works for unlimited hops and could go all the way back to and even replace the core of the internet someday. And that is an enormous statement about the flexibility and capability of the protocol that we have designed, above and beyond what is normally considered when you're making a blockchain project, because we're trying not just to make an application, but to make a foundation for the future of the internet.
Right, ambitious, yeah. So to translate that, you could have this on any level, and like we call this an ISP in a box, and you could say you're a decentralized internet provider. It's like be your own ISP. But you could have that in a smaller or a larger scale and on multiple levels. Like if you want to use it to provide internet in your neighborhood, then you could. But theoretically, you could be a regional distributor of bandwidth, and bandwidth like distribute that bandwidth to those more local users of Althea. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's our eventual goal. Our real goal is to change the way bandwidth is bought and sold universally, to make it a fair and open system for all consumers, so that they can have the same experience, the same ability to commodity buy bandwidth, and the same, I think it's 100x price drop over the last 10 years. I mean, home customers definitely haven't seen 100x price drop in their internet service over the last 10 years, but that's what ISPs have seen there in the meet me room at the internet exchanges, where they trade bandwidth as a commodity.
Oh yeah, Deborah, do you want to say something? Oh, you're mute.
If there's time, I could share the screen. My screen here, I do have some kind of schematics up of the maps of some of our networks, so we can kind of see what that looks like in action.
Definitely. I'll close this. You can share. Yeah. And while you put that up, really good to the screen share is on when you hover your mouse over your video, by the way. While you're putting that up, be good to also go into like the different components, because how I see these routers. They have apparently custom firmware. And there's a chain somewhere, and how do they talk directly to the chain, or the other components in the middle?
Yeah, so first of all, we decided to take sort of the challenging position of writing our entire application stack to live on the devices that exist, which is OpenWRT supporting home Wi-Fi routers. And this is a challenging development environment. They have about 128 megabytes of RAM, 16 megabytes of storage, and you need to fit the operating system and your whole ISP in that footprint. And this is hard, but it lets us use existing devices and really get the cost down. And how this works is that you take a router programmed with the Althea firmware, and you plug it in to a point-to-point wireless connection, an omnidirectional antenna, a fiber connection, sort of any connectivity method that is available. And then it will discover the Althea router on the other end. And together, these routers will form an internet connection for every member of the network. If any one router can see the internet, then the network says, internet's that way, and starts sending packets in that direction. This works as you add multiple connections, as you take things sort of up and down and move them around, where routers will fail over to a different connection. And Deborah's going to show off sort of the back routing we have between our two gateways here, which is really cool. But yeah, Althea has a really flexible design in terms of hardware, in terms of software, in terms of network routing, to really try and go where the customers are.
Great. Yeah. So, Deborah, tell us what this is. Yeah, and do a mute. There you go.
Test.
Yeah, good. That's good.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear you? Yeah, we see your map.
This is one of our live networks, and actually this is pretty exciting. The community here has about 2,000 people, and we have roughly about 40% take rate, which is about double what you would normally see over a network in this area. And one of the really exciting things about what Althea lets us do is build networks in a very dynamic and agile way that works for works in really even challenging geographical locations. As you can see here, we've got large hills and trees, and actually, in fact, there was a wireless ISPs here before. This community actually had an investment of about $1 million in fiber, and they were still really suffering from lack of access, right? Because of the challenging topography and the sort of outlying and kind of folks out here. So what's exciting is each one of these sort of dots here are not only users. Many of these are also in fact what we call relays, right? So there are kind of 4 roles in an Althea network. There's someone who's providing bandwidth, so along kind of this main highway here, we have a couple different entities that basically get wholesale access to bandwidth, and then are able to earn revenue per gigabyte for participating in that. And that's a passive role. They just simply provide bandwidth access into the network itself. And then there's many of these households or businesses, farms that are what they call relay networks, which essentially they have some extra antennas on our roof that they host, and then earn revenue automatically for forwarding bandwidth to neighbors. So what this allows us to do is really build out in areas that we normally couldn't. And you can also see this sort of per hop routing in place here, where you have a connection that bounces here from the fiber where fiber is cheap, out to the outlying lands here, back up to the hill here, and then down to near the river side where there's where it's extremely challenging to build any kind of connectivity to. And then what's exciting too is that decentralized networks are resilient networks. All of these networks are back connected to this other fiber connection point. So should any one of these links go down, they can all or any kind of connection to the main fiber link go down, the other fiber link will automatically everything will route to that other fiber link, and that will sort of take over and then we've seen this in action several times. We had an ice storm here recently where the neighboring ISP had an 80% outage, and our network was up and running still, as it sort of seamlessly just failed over to that other point. Justin, I don't know if you want to say anything about this as well while I have it up. Go ahead and
Yeah, so I think the main point to highlight here is that is sort of what Deborah was saying about the scale of the investment. In order to build a network reaching the same number of customers traditionally, you would need investment on the scale of $1 million or more, and that really limits what makes sense. It limits how many users you can serve. On the other hand, we can build out a network like this for something on the order of $50,000 to $100,000 maybe, and this is an order of magnitude improvement. And in fact, so we did something similar in Plush and Adele, which Deborah has just sort of pulled up. And so far, this has really been our like bread and butter, our big advantage is that we go to places where it's simply not cost feasible for a centralized ISP to operate. And we can come in and build something that is useful, profitable for all members of the network, those relaying bandwidth, and also to us for constructing it, for setting up the nodes that we set up, which is, I guess, a bit of a nuanced discussion that we'll get in later, like how the decentralized vision works in the long term, which is sort of what we started with. So yeah, that's something really cool that's provided by the decentralization in Althea's design, is that we're really going where others can't at a cost that they can't match.
Yeah, very cool. So yeah, congratulations on keeping that stable when others went down for 80%. That's really, must be really good to see that it actually works. Well, in that way, and of course, there's other ways. It would be good to, I think, maybe make the segue into the gravity bridge. There's like you have this technology for routes to find each other and different types of the stack to find each other, and somewhere there is a blockchain. So that'd be interesting to see where that is. And then, like, what made you want to start building this gravity bridge, and how do you see that play a role in Althea now, next year, in 5 years? So yeah, maybe we can talk to that.
Yeah. So could you repeat the end of the question?
Yeah, there was a lot there. There was a lot there. Yeah, no, sorry. There was a lot there. Like, first off, in images we saw different connection points, and I presume those are routers and antennas and those kind of things. First question is, like, where does the blockchain come in? And then the second is, like, from that fact, okay, you have a Cosmos-based blockchain. What made you want to start building this gravity bridge?
Okay, yeah. So the blockchain comes in the payments between the routers. So you're very right, and that's a very insightful question. That you've realized that we built a automated mesh network ISP in a box system, and that's really one layer of our application, and it is in and of itself a useful and a great product. But on top of that, we have the decentralized billing feature. Which is where these routers talk to each other about what data they're using, and then they will make small, like, micropayments. Think like 10 cents of DAI at a time, from router to router, to pay for the bandwidth that they're using, and to pay everyone along the path. So let's say, for example, you saw some of those paths on that network. They're 5, 6, 8 hops deep. Everybody along that path will get paid a cent or two of the total amount of the total price of the route. And to do this, the routers have their own integrated hardware wallet, which they automatically send funds from to pay for the use. So from the user's perspective, they put $50 of DAI on their router. And then their router makes the decision of who's providing the best internet today, what route should I go for, and then it pays them for the service by the byte. And this provides the user choices that wouldn't otherwise be possible. For example, they can select if they want a cheaper connection or a lower latency connection. And in the future, they'll be able to select between lower cost, faster, lower latency, all of these parameters, and sort of decide what they buy from the market. So this sort of segues into the Althea blockchain. And differently from a lot of existing blockchain projects, we decided we wanted to focus on finding our customers, making them happy, getting product market fit before we went and made, our own blockchain, because we didn't know what shape that would need to take. We didn't know what it would really need to work. So we built our ISP in a box. We built the billing layer on top of not Ethereum, but Ethereum compatible chains. And we're currently using the XDAI chain for DAI micropayments. And we make up about 70% of the microtransactions, or things that aren't contract calls, on that blockchain over the last year. So this is, of course, an ongoing concern for us, is that now we've proven out product market fit, and we need a platform that can scale to thousands, tens of thousands, well above the hundreds of homes and businesses that we serve today. And we really know what that platform needs to look like. We know what our requirements are. We know how our application works. We know what makes our customers happy. We know what motivates them. And the biggest thing our customers want is cheaper and easier onboarding to the blockchain ecosystem. They so they like the product, they love the internet, they love the connection, they love the community elements of the setup of the network, they love the reliability, and they love the cost, but they don't like putting money onto their routers, because the interface between the like normal banking system and deposits to the router, like getting DAI, so like you deposit ETH, it goes across the bridge, it gets exchanged in Uniswap. Anyways, all of these are expensive, high fee operations, and also they can be slow and unpredictably. Of all three of these things, it's unpredictable how fast it's going to be. It's unpredictable how expensive it's going to be, and these are our biggest pain points right now. So with that in mind, with that in mind, we decided to build the Gravity Bridge. And something I want to take a moment to highlight here is that Althea is sort of playing a different game. Everybody else is here trying to build like the first DeFi zone. They really want to build a fast Ethereum side chain, and they see that as their goal. Well, we're building Gravity Bridge because we want to provide infrastructure for those sorts of applications, because we want to make liquidity cheaper across the entire, across the entire field. We want to make it easy for our customers to get money into the Cosmos ecosystem. And we want to make it dramatically cheaper by providing the tooling for everybody to sort of gain larger volume, move funds across, provide liquidity in a way that is universally available and very cheap to access. So this is just something that I want to highlight, that we're playing a sort of a different game, because we're not really trying to be the first to build a DeFi zone. We're trying to provide really low fees for our customers. And that's why we built the Gravity Bridge. It also allows us to make our own sovereign blockchain, but still use the DAI token, which is currently the best decentralized stablecoin out there. And it's unlikely we could build a better one. So why not just bring it to our own sovereign blockchain and use it for our applications there. And the last point I want to make here is that the Althea blockchain is important and needs to be independent and distinct because the rules that make sense for financial transactions and financial transaction priority, like the bidding fee market you see on Ethereum, where people will pay $1,000 to get their transaction in sooner, doesn't make sense for an internet service network. What we need is more predictability, more reliability, and something closer to a percentage fee for these micropayments. So that the routers can know when they go to exchange with each other, like, hey, I know this payment is going to get in a predictable amount of time. Because nobody wants their internet to go out because the latest CryptoKitties has just completely futzed anybody's ability to get any transactions into the Ethereum blockchain. So what we need for our application is different enough that in order to build something really reliable, in order to scale, in order to become the new financial platform of the internet, we need something better. We need the Althea blockchain.
Great. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I can see that going from, okay, we need a decentralized form of payments. Great, blockchain. We're actually not going to create our own stablecoin. Great, but dying. Wait. Okay, there's something missing here. Let's build it. So, and yeah, I would also say that you've because we've of course quite a lot of projects who have sort of even pivoted from their original use case because they were missing some infrastructure, and then basically went on being that infrastructure provider. In some cases, never got back. So it's awesome to see that you're actually still doing the thing that you're doing, which is network, broadband, giving people access, building their own network, being your own such a provider, and creating the gravity bridge, which I think we've seen the status, like there was a first transaction which you've been able to do like from between the Cosmos Hub and Ethereum testnets. Like how far is that from? Well, that's of course, don't think too deeply about timelines. Everybody wants soon. But like, what are some major steps between now and a place where the gravity bridge is deployed and heavily used?
Yeah. So first of all, I would just like to say that we're extremely proud that since we started developing the gravity bridge, so during development of the gravity bridge, so over the past 8 months to a year or so, we have 5x'd our total. We have 5x'd our broadband user count. And we're hoping to do something like 10x on that again over the next year or two. So we certainly haven't left behind sort of our broadband aspirations, and we're still working on them very hard. So to get back to talk about the gravity bridge and its timelines and its status, we currently have a testnet online. And it's public, anybody can join it. But we are nearly full up at 97 validators. Yeah, this is an active testnet against the Goerli Ethereum testnet. Anybody is free to join and validate and run and send transactions back and forth and, create batches, do everything that you would reasonably expect of a production gravity bridge. And what we're going to try and do is have an incentivized testnet, hopefully within the next month or so, and then hopefully complete an audit in parallel with the incentivized testnet. And then after that, things will be ready to go. Obviously, of course, pending fixing the issues found in the audit or issues found in the incentivized testnet, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's sort of where we stand right now. Really, the next step is to go and start working against production Ethereum, and really handle a lot of the ergonomics issues around Ethereum gas, because that's a very difficult and expansive problem. When you're paying maybe $200 to execute a batch of 100 transactions. Exactly what does profitable mean? How do you compute that? How do you work on that? So that's sort of the next step. But the logic, the fundamental bridge elements all work. It's just that the relayers and the other components would really just chew through too much Ethereum gas to be practical to run right now.
Great, thanks for that. Yeah, so we're running already a few minutes over the originally scheduled times. I want to make sure we keep sort of within the schedule. Are there any final things you'd like to share with the audience, and also where do people go to keep updated on Althea and the Gravity Bridge? Maybe Deborah, you can comment on that.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining again today. I know it's very early actually on the Pacific Coast, so I appreciate any of the early risers. We'll put some Discord links. Justin, can you drop a Discord link in the chat there? That's the best way to keep in touch with everything that's going on with Althea. On Twitter, we are at Althea Network. We're really looking forward to this summer. both with the Gravity Bridge and our upcoming deployments in several new states, and some of our international work as well. So exciting.
Great, thanks a lot. So yeah, everybody sign up for the Discord, and if you feel like joining in the incentivized testnet for the Gravity Bridge, then have a go. And yeah, really exciting to hear you've got that number of validators already participating, and it's very clear that there's a lot of activity in the wider Cosmos ecosystem around the Gravity Bridge. So yeah, thanks a lot for coming on today, and especially Deborah getting up so early. Really thumbs up. If you want to stay up to date with these events, there's a subscribe button on the Crowdcast itself, but otherwise on Twitter and YouTube you can see us too. And next Tuesday we'll have Nader Debits about the Graph, who are building also an infrastructure type of thing, but more around querying and indexing blockchains, mainly started with Ethereum, but also expanding to others. So do sign in next week too. So yeah, thanks both. Thanks everybody in the audience, and see you in the next one. Cheers.